Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Welcome to the Astrology Weekly Podcast. Happy new moon in Cancer. Let's dream new dreams and manifest new realities for ourselves. If you're new here, my name is Natalie Dadre. I've studied and worked in psychology and mental health for the past almost 20 years. After facing a significant health crisis at the start of the pandemic, I made the transition to working as a full-time astrologer, as I saw that as an opportunity to get deeper into my faith and spirituality. I want to teach you how to use astrology to manifest the life of your dreams. So, in this podcast, every 2 weeks, when we have a lunar movement, I talk about what this means for you. So, I've already mentioned that we're having a full moon in Cancer. It's going to be happening on Friday, July 5th, 2024, at 6:58 p.m. if you are located in Eastern Time Zone in the USA. First, let's start with an ugly truth. A lot of how far a person can go in this world is determined by the home environment that they've had. This is not my opinion. This is what, developmental psychology would tell us. In fact, they've done studies mainly in Europe where they've met, children as infants and studied them over the course of 7 years. There's a theory about this 7-year marker where when a child reaches the age of 7, you can pretty much predict what type of adult they're going to be. Another grand piece of news that I want to share here based on psychology, social science research is that, attachment style is pretty much set in stone by age 3. Our attachment style is basically the product of our relationship with our mother. This is why I often talk about the mother wound, because the mother wound affects our relationships with our lovers, our family members in general, and our friends. It's a part of our connection that is first established in childhood that we basically carry over the rest of our lives. For those of you who are not familiar with this term, the mother wound, the best way to think about it is a loss of mothering or a lack of mothering, essentially an inadequate relationship between a mother and daughter, a mother-son relationship. And for many of us, because mothering is something that is passed down from a mother to another mother, we are receiving the mothering from our mother, which was passed down from many, many generations of women. So, when we're looking at family systems therapy, when we're doing therapy with families and trying to understand where behaviors come from, for many of us, these behaviors come from a long history, which is now coded into our DNA about how we do parenting. It's a reflection of our family tradition, our family habits, and these patterns of behavior have an emotional impact on us. As an example, if you are a child who was raised by parents who struggled with drugs and alcohol, domestic violence, mental health issues undiagnosed or not treated, or who struggled with anger issues or struggled with being emotionally present and emotionally available, naturally you're going to grow up with a mother wound because all children deserve to feel loved, deeply loved, and safe in childhood. But obviously, if you have a parent that was dealing with all these struggles, you're going to be on the receiving end of abuse, neglect, and it doesn't have to be physical, it can be emotional. Sometimes parents are not necessarily the type of people that are overtly abusive, but sometimes just the lack of care and the lack of affection and the lack of emotional connection can create coldness or distance and can create a space in the dynamic where the child doesn't feel safe going to their parent, even when something really, really bad has happened and they need help. So when the home, which is first your mother's body, is no longer safe for you as a child, what happens is that it creates a lack of emotional safety in the world. Because when we're little, mother is the world. In fact, infants scientifically speaking, think of themselves as being a part of mother. They don't understand that mother and them are two separate people. That comes later, much later in their development. She gives us all of our nutrients, all of our needs are met. Then when she pushes us out, then she starts taking care of us. That level of emotional safety and our physical needs being met reinforces that love. And it keeps going on like that. But if at any point there's a disruption in that process where the way in which the mother responds to the child is inconsistent or unhelpful or not loving, what then starts to emerge in that relationship is lack of safety. Cancer represents the mother in astrology. Taurus represents safety in the physical realm. So, this new moon is asking us to set new standards for ourselves, a new vision for how we're going to create emotional safety within our body, because now we're in charge of the home, we're adults. We are responsible for how we feel, how we behave, and the decisions that we make with our lives. So, what decisions do we need to make so that we can manifest and call in a new future that caters to our physical needs and our emotional needs? When we don't feel safe in the world, we cannot thrive in the world. This is why Cancer and Taurus usually make an excellent match made in heaven when we're talking about love, because these two understand that you have to take care of your roots if you want to thrive in the world. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I want you to Google the zodiac signs most represented among wealthy people in this world. Now, when we're talking about money, what we're talking about really is abundance. We're talking about the universe blessing you with more than what you need. One thing you're going to notice when you do that quick little Google is that Taurus and Cancer are going to show up because they understand if you don't have a solid foundation, whatever it is that you're building cannot last the test of time. It just needs one storm to come through, and the whole thing is going to fall apart because it was not built upon a foundation that is healthy, sustainable, emotionally sensitive, and mindful of your personal limitations. That's what sensitivity is about. It's about understanding that there's some things that I can't cope with because of who I am. Part of our healing is recognizing some maladaptive or unhealthy patterns that were passed down from our mothers to us that are no longer helpful, and doing away with that so that we can bring our bloodline into a healthier state of being. The energy of this new moon should be something that all of us are already feeling, because Cancer energy is deeply personal, it is intimate. Cancer is about depth, it's about irrationality, it's about trusting the vibe and following the vibe, and recognizing when we don't feel safe, regardless of what our logic may be saying. So, emotional safety drives a lot of what Cancer does and who Cancer is. This is why Cancer will often stay, in situations that are not the best for them, because simply, doing things that require them to feel uncomfortable or to feel like they might be exposed or unsafe is just not in their repertoire. Okay. So, we're going to be asked to define for ourselves what it means to feel emotionally safe. What does that mean that we feel emotionally safe? I talk about this often. I've talked about this before. As a Virgo Mars, I tend to be fairly critical. It's not hard for me to study patterns and quickly recognize them. And perhaps that's why I am drawn to studying people. Perhaps that's why, I decided to choose, psychology and mental health as my path when it came to a career prior to astrology. It's because humans are not really creatures of patterns. They can be when it comes to maladaptive behaviors, but by and large, people are vastly unpredictable as a whole. We all are, because things can happen at any point in time that changes our perception of things. And when that happens, we adjust. So, this new moon is going to be happening at the 14th degree, which is the Taurian degree. The energy of this transition is going to be all about the home. It's all about our mother. It's all about how we felt bonded to her in childhood. And it's all about how do we replicate that energy for ourselves as adults now that mom is no longer here to hug us and kiss our boo-boos and tell us that we're going to be okay. How do we cater to those big feelings that we used to have when we were little that she made go away? You see, as we get older, a lot of adults seem to think that the feelings disappear. But what actually happens is that those same big feelings we had when we were 2 years old, they're still here. You see, at some point, mom should have taught all of us how to manage our feelings, because at some point she knew that we would be separated, whether separated because we got older and moved away from her, or separated because she's no longer physically in this realm. Those of you who follow this account, or those of you who follow me on other social media platforms, specifically in my private manifestation group on Patreon at Intuitive Healing, you have been reading about the loss that I've suffered and that my family has suffered, talking about mother wound. How appropriate is this? So for those of you who don't know, my mother-in-law passed away last month. I haven't been very active on social media since then. And this morning, as I was getting ready to record the podcast, I was reflecting on how coincidental it is that I am still grieving the loss of a maternal figure in my life while we're going through this new moon in Cancer. So this potent Cancer energy is calling us to make important changes in our lives that will help us feel more emotionally mature and secure now that mom is no longer here to do this for us. A new moon in astrology is a perfect opportunity to plant new seeds. It's an opportunity to literally manifest a new reality. It's an opportunity to literally manifest an entirely new life. And I want you guys to take these moments very seriously, especially a new moon, because it really sets the course for many more months. In the case of this particular transition, its impact, it's going to be felt for the next 6 months. As any good spiritualist knows, setting the right intentions is even more important than taking the right action. So it's important that we set some intentions around how to make the necessary changes in our lives that will benefit us emotionally way beyond this moment. We're talking 6 months from now, which is basically going to be taking us to the new year. And as you know, Saturn is retrograde right now. So those of us who suffer from mother wound, myself included, so there's no shame in that. That's been my life's work, healing my relationship with my mother. And I'm so grateful that my mother is still here so that we can continue working on this together. When I look at our relationship from when I was much younger to now, I am truly, truly grateful for the power of transformation. So Saturn is about responsibility, it's about accountability, and the wounds that we carry with us, when we choose to ignore them instead of facing them head on, what will happen is they will keep showing up in our lives in multiple ways, just to kind of remind us that we're still not out of the woodworks, we're still not safe, we're still not taken care of, that boo-boo is still hurting, and we still need mommy to kiss it. And now that we're older, mommy can't quite do it for us, so we have to become mommy. A huge part of a new moon in Cancer is about reparenting yourself and setting intentions around how you're going to create a safer, more emotionally comfortable experience for you on this life journey. For Cancer, there's a lot of nostalgia in their lives. There's a lot of importance placed on home, family activities, anything that makes them feel cozy, like cooking, gardening, anything that makes them feel hopeful and warm and soft. Baking, spending time playing games with their kids. Cancer is not about conquering the world. They don't want worldly trophies. They want to feel safe, and they like being close to the people that they call family, because Cancer knows, at the end, that's really all that matters. When I reflect on my mother-in-law's funeral, the people that were there were the people who really loved her. So when we're living our lives, it's important to keep in mind that this is a short trip. Eventually, all of us will have a funeral, and the people who will be at our funeral are going to be the people who consider us family. So it's important to prioritize deepening our relationship with those people, as well as deepening our relationship with ourselves. Because, as you know, when we struggle with loving ourselves, we struggle with loving our relatives and our loved ones, because at the root of it is we struggle with being human, which is being messy, Who would be the most impacted by this lunar transit? It's going to be the cardinals. So Cancer, Libra, Aries, and Capricorn. If you happen to have those signs at the sun, moon, or rising, you're going to notice a huge impact. If you happen to have those signs as a stellium, same thing. Also, anyone who has any Cancer degrees in their chart, so study your chart, look for Cancer degrees, and the house or placement where that is located, there's going to be a new impact. Meaning that if we fail to recognize that our inability to self-soothe or to emotionally regulate our feelings affects our relationships, explosions are going to be taking place that really show us how unhinged we really are, okay? And I'm just being very candid about this because this is something that I've been feeling coming on even for myself. I was actually having this conversation with my therapist yesterday and saying, because I worked as a therapist for almost 20 years. And I was a therapist before I got the legal documentation to practice therapy and the licensure and the master's degree and the training and the work experience. I was always the one in my family who was the fixer, the collaborator, the mitigator, the problem solver. And part of what made part of the challenge with being that person as a Virgo Mars is that I tend to take on so much because my heart is so big and I want to help, and I don't like to see people suffer, especially people that I love. So when I identify that there's an issue with somebody that I love, I automatically feel this urge to get involved and to make it better and to want to fix it and make it go away. It's almost like a knee-jerk reaction because, my brain has been hardwired for this behavior for 42 years. So here I am at my mother-in-law's funeral, still grieving my own relationship with her, and also assisting my wife with grieving her mother, which obviously that's going to be a deeper pain than a mother-in-law. And my father-in-law is assisting him as well with this process because, none of us have ever lost. I've never lost a parent. She's never lost a parent, and he's never lost a spouse of 50 years. It's a new experience for all of us. So I automatically go into therapist mode because I want everyone to be okay. But then in between, I find myself just breaking down and randomly crying. And I'm realizing that's not a stable structure for me to be on. I have to first take care of myself so I'm able to take care of everyone else. So I say all of that to say it's a constant struggle to find that line, that nurturing line, to make sure that we're not neglecting ourselves for the sake of caring for others, and to make sure that we're not completely being uncaring, being emotionally detached, being insensitive, being more concerned about getting things done than we care about people's feelings, and, just being like hard and harsh and mean and unreasonable for no reason. A lot of times for me, when I get into that space, is because I'm not taking good care of myself emotionally. So I am very fragile. So it doesn't take much for me to get frustrated and to get set off. And granted, I'm not like the, yelling and going off kind of person, but still, when I am ready to like tell somebody off, I can do it in a very poignant way, even when it's not loud. And sometimes it can be hurtful because when I'm not feeling at my best, I have no room to think about how my words are landing with someone else. And it's not even coming from a place of wanting to be harmful, but that's what happens because I'm not taking care of myself. So a lot of times when we get into these situations with our loved ones, and we reflect on them, we go, oh, I wasn't in a good place. And we say, that's not what I intended to do. I'm so sorry. But, it doesn't really matter what the intent is. When we behave in a way that is harmful to the people that we love, we may forget about it and we may move on, but that pain may still be with them. So part of being a good lover is to be mindful of how we're coming across, because how we come across affects the people that we love. And us not being in a good place isn't an excuse. Is it good to be aware of it? Yes, but it does not excuse poor behavior. We're responsible for how we feel, how we act. We're adults. So when we hurt others, we're still responsible for that. So part of being an adult is recognizing, okay, I'm not in the right headspace right now. What can I do to feel better? And that is the superpower of Cancer. Nobody does it better than Cancer. And with this lunar transit happening at the Taurus degree, which is the second zodiac sign that does this the best, what we're going to be brought to is this Cancerian energy and Taurian energy of reflecting on the past, finding a new way forward in spite of the opposition, finding an emotional foundation upon which we can rest. Does that mean I need to cook a meal every day so I can feel safe? Does that mean I need to go to bed earlier so I can get more sleep? Does that mean I need to take time to just be alone and reflect? Do I need to cry in a shower every day? Do I need to journal? In my case, do I need to take a step back from social media? Whatever it is that you need to get back to feeling comfortable in your skin again, that's what all of us are being called to. So let's get into what we can expect for all 12 signs. And the best way to manifest with this new moon is obviously going to be through water rituals. Because we are dealing with Cancer energy. So those of you water signs, you're going to be doing fantastic. So those of you water Mars, you're going to be doing fantastic. Before I move on to talk about what this energy means for all 12 zodiac signs, I want to remind you that I'm having a giveaway. To participate, all you have to do is go on Instagram at Intuitive Healing, follow our Instagram account. I have a giveaway that I started on YouTube, so also go to our YouTube channel at Intuitive Healing and follow that account. That is my main astrology educational channel. I have over 1,500 videos there on astrology for you, so go ahead and check it out at Intuitive Healing. The giveaway basically is going to lend to somebody winning some healing crystals from our shop at styledunder.com. StyleUnder.com is your premier destination for healing crystals as well as sustainable fashion pieces. So don't forget to check all of those things out. Now, moving on to what this means for all 12 zodiac signs. If you are an Aries rising, this new moon is a wonderful opportunity for you to set some new intentions about the kind of mother you want to be. How do you want to be remembered by your children? The following 6 months are going to help you kind of rethink the foundation upon which you built this house of motherhood for your children. What you may notice is that there may be some things that happen with your kids or in your home that require you to tap more into your maternal instinct. You're going to notice some sort of activation of your motherhood during this time. Make sure that you prioritize taking care of yourself, kind of like what I was just saying about myself, because, good moms are happy moms. It doesn't mean we don't have bad days, but it means our kids see us as people that are emotionally regulated and able to emotionally control ourselves. So make sure that you prioritize that as, more of your loved ones pull on your energy. If you are a Taurus rising, it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to set some intentions around your communication. There's some things that you already know to be true in your gut that you've been ignoring This is a good opportunity for you to set some intentions around this truth that you carry in your belly and to move that forward for your long-term security and stability. Since this is happening at the Taurian degree, Taurus is going to be a really, really wonderful green flag, green lit opportunity for you to move forward by raising your vibration, by speaking truth, by owning your truth, and owning your identity in the process. If you are a Gemini rising, for you, this is going to be happening around issues related to your second house. So, how do you make money? What do you consider valuable? How do you keep your valuables? And maybe some changes with regards to your finances. It might be a good opportunity for you to set some new intentions around your finances and identify new ways to make money so that you can flourish. Because this is happening in your second house, there is a lot of karmic energy there for you. And with Saturn currently being retrograde, you may be thinking about dreams that you've had before, things you wanted to do with your life that you've let go by the wayside. It's never too late, Gemini, to start over. I need you to know that as long as you're breathing, life is always here for you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. None of the past stuff matters. All we can do is move forward because none of us can turn back the clock of time. So let's just plant those new seeds, set those new intentions, and move forward, okay? Cancer rising, you're the star of the show. So for you, you're going to be going through a huge transition. It's time to address how historically you have this pattern of overextending yourself to others emotionally as a manipulative strategy to coerce them into taking care of your emotional well-being. And if you've been doing your work, what you've learned this year is that the root of the issue is this behavior that can be quickly changed by you simply focusing on your mental health and your emotional health. This is also a healing year for you. All the water signs are having a deeply healing year. So if you're a Cancer Sun, Moon, or Rising, Cancer, Mars, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to recenter yourself in your life emotionally by prioritizing your emotional security and safety. And if you were to do that, the beautiful thing about it is that you would no longer need to manipulate anyone into taking care of you because you would already be taken care of. And isn't that a beautiful thing? You stand to gain the most out of everybody. And if you were to Google Cancer manifestation powers, you would notice that they're one of the most powerful zodiac signs when it comes to manifestation. So don't be shy, Cancer. You can get an entirely new identity, an entirely new personality, an entirely new protocol and way of doing life, and just rewrite your story. It's okay to take the past with us. It's okay to take those bittersweet feelings we have about childhood with us. Even this morning I was reflecting on like how my mother used to do my hair when I was little. And like, what kind of, do I want to introduce my daughter to some of these styles? Like it's okay to take some of that with us. When I reflect on that for me, I get a little nostalgic because, we used to live in West Africa and now I'm not in that environment anymore. Some of the smells, the tastes, the sights, like I've lost all of that because I'm in a different environment. So all I have is my memory of these moments because I can't revisit my childhood home without, taking a flight over the course of a couple of days to get there. So I say all of that to say home is always a complicated place. There is a lot of joy there, but there can also be a lot of sadness for us. And it's okay to recognize the complications of our mothers, the complications of ourselves as mothers, the complication of our relationship with Earth being our mother, and accept that as a part of life and try to mitigate that as best as you can. Moving on to Leo. Leo, this is going to be an opportunity for you to experience a spiritual death. So, unfortunately for you, this falls in the 12th house. So, there's going to be a lot of awareness about emotions that you've repressed. It's a time for you to embrace your shadow side. And for those of us in the mental health spiritual community, what that is the feelings or the insecurities that we have that we hide from ourselves. So it's about fears, it's about weaknesses, it's about past traumas, it's about past grief. So this is all about connecting with spirituality for a deeper understanding of yourself as a flawed individual and finding ways to kind of, alchemize that dark energy into lightness, into brightness, into something that is healing both for you and the world. For Virgo rising, this falls in your 11th house, so your community is going to be changing if it hasn't changed already. There should be something that has happened for you in the last 2 weeks that has revealed information that you didn't realize before. Now, this revelation of information should have actually started back when we had the Gemini transit. So that would have been earlier last month. So earlier last month, there was probably some trickle of information. And then in the last 2 weeks, there's been more solidified information that has revealed for you that there's some changes that you need to make with your emotional support team. It's time to be very intentional about the kind of relationships that you want to build and take steps towards nurturing new connections, new friendships, new support systems, and to be intentional about distancing yourself from emotional social connections that are not fulfilling. A lot of times we get stuck in these cycles with relationships with people because we've known them a long time. And knowing somebody a long time, unfortunately, does not mean that the depth of the relationship, is parallel with the amount of time that you've known them. There's some people I've known for 10 years that I still know at the same level I knew them, within a month or 2 months of meeting them. Once I make the note that this person is not capable of emotional depth, and I know that I require emotional depth to feel connected as an Aquarius rising, I simply remove my energy. So for you, Virgo rising, since you really struggle with loyalty, I need you to understand that loyalty to yourself is the most important loyalty, and anybody who tells you otherwise is merely trying to manipulate you while they use you for your good healing energy, which is what Virgo brings to the table. Next, we're moving on to Libra rising. Libra, this is a time for you to rebuild your public image, your career, your personal sense of self, how you want others to view you, how you want others to remember you, what kind of impact you want to have in the world. All of those things are basically determined by the 10th house in astrology. The 10th house is often kind of simplified by, we often talk about it in terms of career and public image, but it is a bit deeper. In fact, the 10th house, when you look at it in your natal chart, it sits at the highest section of your birth chart. So it falls physically at the top of your birth chart cycle, meaning that the weight that it holds in interpreting your life's purpose, your manifestation powers, your spiritual calling, your spiritual assignment is very, very heavy. If you want to know where your highest aspirations are going to be manifested, how your highest potential is going to be unearthed, what are some of your naturally God-given divine strengths, gifts, abilities, talents that you have, you look to your 10th house, because your 10th house is the house of your karma. It is your highest power in your natal chart. So, Libra rising, this is a beautiful opportunity for you to finally create a life that is balanced when it comes to giving love and receiving love. When we work Libra energy in the negative, we are a little bit self-hating. And the self-hating that we have is well hidden underneath the superficial, way of doing relationships where we want everybody to like us. We get along with everyone. That means when people do things that offend us, we don't say anything, or we don't say anything to them, but we say it to other people because we're really afraid to own our power. We want the spotlight, we want the attention, but we're afraid to command it or demand it the way Leo does. So Libra, I am here to send you good news, and that is the universe wants to free you of this disease because you're here to shine brightly, and that's why you make yourself the center of your world. That's what you're supposed to do. You're energetically extremely generous. So it's important that you be surrounded by souls that are energetically extremely generous as well. If you're not getting the recognition that you deserve in your job, in your relationships, in your sense of respect, if people are not putting respect on your name, then yeah, you need to let them go because you deserve someone who's going to match the same love that you give. You have a habit of overextending yourself, hoping that, that will be a way to get into people's good graces. And the truth is, you're here to mitigate how other people respond to your love. So I'm not asking you to be a new person. I'm asking you to set standards, code of ethics, code of practice, code of operations with how you do work, how do you do life, how you do family, how you do relationships. Capricorn, who's a ruler of that house, is nothing if not about method and structure. So this is a bit challenging for you because as an air signs typically don't like to have boundaries. But Capricorn is all about boundaries because Capricorn knows that discipline is the only way to make progress. Discipline is the only way to manifest our dreams. To have discipline, we have to have standards. Without standards, we don't have any structure. And without structure, we have zero stability. So if you want peace, love, health, wealth, beauty, stability, peace, heavy on the peace, Libra, because you've been without it for quite a while, you can have that. But it requires saying no, preferably to people's faces, so that they know your feelings are just as important as theirs. You're nobody's slave. You're ruled by Venus, the planet of abundance. You're here to get everything you deserve. And that's not going to happen if you do not give others boundaries and if you do not give yourself boundaries. Okay? You can do it. I believe in you. I love you so much, Libra, and I want to see you win. Moving on to Scorpio. Scorpio, this new moon for you is going to bring some deep seated feelings around your relationship with God, your relationship with the universe, your relationship with spirituality, and what kind of ethics and morality do you have? It's time for you to return to some of the lessons that may have been taught to you as a child about your place in the universe. And it's time for you to expand beyond that to grasp at a chance to have a deeper, more meaningful connection with the spirit realm. You've been going through this like intense transition, Scorpio, this year. We've had a lot of karmic energy. And because you are a karmic by nature, there's been a lot of it. It's time to go deeper. Even though you are deep, sometimes you can also deny yourself your own healing, which then ends up being projected onto other people. So whatever time you need to prioritize to go deeper within yourself, whether that means calling a therapist, whether that means speaking to your priest, whether that means going on a meditation retreat, I'm not exactly sure. Everyone needs different things. But you do need to think of something to do or practice to do, whether that is, lighting a candle every day, setting intentions for the day, meditating at the beginning of your day, going to church on Sunday. You need to find something to anchor yourself into your spirituality. Spirituality is not for the head, it's for the heart. And the heart starts to transform when the habits are in place, because the habits are what connect us to the unseen. The routine is how we show God that we're trusting, that we're believing, and that we are faithful. And when we are faithful to ourselves, guess what? The universe is also faithful to us in granting our wishes. Moving on to Sagittarius. If you are a Sagittarius rising, this falls for you in the 8th house, so you're going to be going through a death and rebirth process. It's important for you to recognize that part of the issues that you're having right now, and by that I mean emotional issues of emotional regulation, emotional safety, that those issues were created in childhood. And it's time for you to recognize that You can't skate over them. Sagittarius rising has a habit of making connections with people around what works, what's functional, what's fun, but they don't know or they struggle to connect with people emotionally, to expose their vulnerability, to show the skeletons in the closet, which is ironic because that is the only reason why Sagittarius came to Earth. They came to expose themselves so everybody would know that it's okay to laugh at the stupidity of life, at the pain of life, at the ridiculousness of it all, at the uncertainty of it. Because honestly, all of it is funny when you're emotionally detached from it. Like the ironies of life, there's so many dark, funny moments that Sagittarius is very good at capturing. But when Sagittarius is not willing to go deeper, the level of wisdom that they can capture is shallow, just like the depth of their connections. You see, how deeply connected we are with ourselves affects how deeply connected we can be with others. When we're not willing to go deeper within ourselves to see our light and our darkness, it's harder for us to go deep with others, to see their light and their darkness and see them as part of us, as we are part of them, because all of us are one. There's literally only one love in this world, one God, one planet, one earth. Every Abrahamic religion teaches this, that we all came from Adam and Eve, then that means that we all are related. So it's all the same frequency, it's all the same energy. And the beautiful thing about it is that we can work on it. We can develop habits that help us reconnect with ourselves. If you are a Capricorn rising, this transit is going to be very impactful for you because you are the opposite sign of Cancer. They're two of your sisters, so you're two sides of the same coin. In astrology, Cancer represents the mother and Capricorn represents the father. People who have Capricorn Sun, Moon, or Rising, or Capricorn Mars, or Capricorn Stellium tend to have grown up in an environment where their emotional needs were neglected. These children were often seen as objects that were there to do certain tasks. And, it was a very cold environment that these children grew up in. So, what came out of that is that they learned that the only person they could trust and rely on is themselves. So, Capricorn rising is very, very hardworking, very self disciplined, very much so about their business, not into foolishness, and all about taking care of business. You know that song, Taking Care of Business? Bom, 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 bom. That's Capricorn rising, okay? These people, they work hard and they play hard, and they're extremely independent. And it's created somewhat of a cynical outlook on the world for them, having had this kind of harsh upbringing into their childhood. Capricorn rising is time for you to identify whether the nurturing energy that you didn't receive in childhood is something that can be provided to you in partnership. First, you have to do your own healing to recognize what it is that you missed and give that to yourself. And then, secondly, you have to manifest partners in your life that are going to maintain that level of emotional sensitivity that you need. You see, Capricorn, oftentimes you neglect your own vulnerabilities because those were neglected when you were little. So many of your insecurities, even though they're traceable to your childhood, when you do not do your own work, your emotional labor of discovering who you really are behind the titles and the accomplishments, what you're left with is a lot of insecurities that you are not aware of. And then you end up manifesting people who basically reinforce this idea of you being tough and strong and not needing anybody. And what you actually need is more of this maternal energy that you didn't get. So I need you to think about whether the person that you are dating, you are engaged with, or you are married to is someone who is sensitive to your emotional needs just beyond the surface. You're the type of person that looks even better the more emotionally conflicted and the more emotional strife you're dealing with because you are made to last. You can overcome any and everything. So, what you need in your life is somebody who is emotionally astute, who can notice what you're really feeling beyond the facade. So, if the relationship is not providing you a sense of emotional safety, emotional comfort, if you feel like you can't feel emotionally safe there enough to build with this person, then this is not your person. You're going to have to manifest a new person. And if you were to take this time seriously, 6 months from now, you stand to meet the person of your dreams. Okay? Listen to me. The person of your dreams is going to come into your life within the next 6 months, but it requires that you be willing to get real and get out of the facade and get into your heart space and think about what you really need. And then invite energies in that are more tender, more sensitive, more caring, more loving, because you function best when you cater to your emotionality, just like zodiac sign Cancer. If you are an Aquarius rising, this is going to be time for you to focus on your health. I told you guys that I was talking with my therapist. And as an Aquarius rising, this is right on the money for me. This is an opportunity for you to think about how you can live a more emotionally balanced, positively minded, and hopeful life by prioritizing your self-care. Aquarius rising is very generous energetically because these people don't belong to themselves. And I've mentioned this before, the last 4 zodiac signs are deeply spiritual because they're here for spiritual reasons, not physical. And that's why they tend to struggle in relationships the most out of everybody. And that would be Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, right? And Pisces. Because by the time you get to Pisces, you're no longer connected to the physical realm. So Aquarius, as a water bearer, often see themselves as the helpers. Again, back to the story I was telling you about me and the Aquarius rising. We don't mind giving everything to everyone. We don't mind. We like it. We feel that is why we came to Earth. As I say that, I can't help but reflect on the fact that Oprah is an Aquarius sun. And when everyone thinks of Oprah, what they often think about is her going, and you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car, and everyone gets a car. That's very Aquarius because Aquarius, unlike all the other zodiac signs, knows that this life is short. We are aware that this is not our resting place. We're just visitors. So whatever goodness we can leave behind while we're here, that's what we're here for. Because all of the things that we accumulate in this world, we can't take a single one of them with us. There's no item we can take with us when we die. There's no money we can take with us. There's no person we can take with us. We only take ourselves. And in addition, the only thing we can leave behind are things that can either help or harm people. And that's going to come down to the choices that we made during our lives. So Aquarius, whenever they see suffering, they feel it very deeply in their hearts. It deeply wounds them and they want to do something about it. This is why Aquarius is a humanitarian of the zodiac. So by default, they overgive because they don't think of possessions as important. They don't think of money the way Taurus does or the way Scorpio does. They think of collective money. Aquarius is a bit of a communist zodiac sign, if you want to think about it that way. If they have and you don't have, it makes them deeply sad. It makes it hard for them to even enjoy what they do have, okay? So because of that, they overgive. And Aquarius, who's not healthy, is going to undergive. You notice when a zodiac sign is not healthy, they swing the other way on the property that God has assigned to them at birth. So Aquarius, you're here to go back to giving to yourself with an understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and trying to pour into your loved ones from an empty cup is hurting them. It's giving them poison, and that's not very loving or kind. So take care of your health, take care of your mental health. You have some of the darkest minds out of the entire zodiac. Aquarius is the darkest zodiac sign in terms of like their thought process, because even though they're humanitarian, they're also deeply affected by the pain in the world. And it's not hard for them to start thinking very negatively. And, there can be like an undercurrent of hopelessness there with Aquarius. So it's time to really face that and to do good in spite of that. And to focus on the things that you need to do to keep yourself grounded, because it's easy for you to get overwhelmed with the problems of the world. Moving on to Pisces rising. Pisces, it's time for you to enjoy some passions in your life. You have been through a lot already since the beginning of this year. You're the one zodiac sign I've been worried about because of the Saturn and Pluto transits. It's been beating you down like nobody else, and I know it's been hard, but I want you to make time to prioritize your emotional well-being by getting back to your passions, getting back to your hobbies, finding ways to express yourself, painting, art, singing, performing. This is Leo energy. For you, this falls in your fifth house. So it's time for you to try new things, to be brave, to be bold, to be courageous, to enjoy yourself, to have high self-esteem. Go after the things you want. Be confident. It doesn't all have to be dark and depressing all the time, Pisces. We can infuse some joy in between, okay? We can't stop world hunger, but we can cook a healthy, delicious meal for ourselves and the people that we love. And as a way to give back to Mother Earth, we make sure that we eat everything on our plate, and what we don't finish, we compost instead of putting in the trash. So there are little things that we can do every day that can make us feel like we are mothering ourselves in the very best way possible. So this is a perfect opportunity to do that, because you know what? Manifestation is merely the natural consequence of being in harmony with our destiny. And being in harmony with our destiny requires that we feel both emotionally and spiritually regulated. And if we currently don't feel that way, it's upon us to come up with habits that allow us to practice the remembrance of those emotions so that we can be successful in manifesting our dreams. That's all that I have for today. Thank you so much for listening to the Astrology Weekly podcast. Head over to our YouTube channel at Astrology Weekly and subscribe. You can join our private manifestation group on Patreon at Intuitive Healing. You may also purchase a confidential astrology reading on Patreon if you would like to have more intimate time with me. I provide individual as well as relationship compatibility readings. I'll catch up with you in 2 weeks for another podcast. Wishing you a happy new moon in Cancer. Happy manifestation.